Okay, hi, welcome to SLCC's Giving Day Q&A with Tan France. My name is Cassandra Ramirez. I'm a fashion student here at SLCC, and I'm very excited to moderate today's Q&A. So Tan France is a fashion guru and style expert of Netflix renowned Queer Eye series. He grew up in a strict Pakistani Muslim family in South Yorkshire, England. Tan fell in love with fashion at age 7 after visiting his grandfather's denim factory. As an adult, Tan moved to London and worked for major retailers like Zara, Selfridges, and Chanel. Tan struck on his own as a fashion designer in the US, and it's the creative mind behind the Kingdom and State Rachel Parcell Incorporated brand. He joined the Emmy-winning cast of Queer Eye in 2018, and Tan is the co-host of Netflix fashion design competition series Next in Fashion, alongside Alexa Chung. Tan, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. Correction, no longer Alexa Chung. Next in Fashion is now co-hosted by Gigi Hadid.
Oh, great. Thank you for letting us know.
It's a very new development within the last couple of weeks, so if you wouldn't have known.
Yeah. Now we know. Thank you so much. So I have a few questions here for you, Tan. Let's get started with the first one. What made you want to be part of SLCC's Giving Day?
You know, I'm just going to say my honest answer. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. This is my home, which surprises most people. And I don't think the community colleges get as much support as they need. I come from a place where we have programs like SLCC as our main programs. We don't usually pay for college, and so they're the colleges that really churn out some incredible work. And I think with support from people who are in a position of power in our community, we can actually do some good for places like SLCC. So that's why I wanted to take part.
Thank you so very much. Alongside that, what have been some helpful things that have helped you learn like how to give back?
You know, the most helpful thing for me was being raised in a community of immigrants. My parents were immigrants from India and Pakistan. I'm an immigrant, and we understood the power of community support, not just giving financially, but giving in general, in totality, and what that can do to bolster the success of the next generation. And so for me, that's why giving is so important. Now, don't get me wrong, I do speaking engagements with universities, large universities where I get paid for that. But there are places that really need support that don't have the financial support of these major universities, where their students are equally as talented, equally as creative, and they just haven't been given the same shot because of economic issues. And so it's really nice to be in a position to be able to do that.
Of course, thank you very much for that. So Hannah Miller asks, as a European immigrant to the USA, she often feels at home everywhere and nowhere. So it can feel really enriching, but also alienating. She asks, since you are Pakistani, British, and European, can you speak to the different facets of your cultural identity and what they mean to you and how they intersect?
That is a big question. Yes. You know, my culture is incredibly important to me. When I was a kid, as a child of immigrants, I really tried hard to play down my differences because I think every young kid wants to just fit in, and for people to not notice that they're different. However, the older I get, the more I embrace my culture, and I have a baby who I will make sure understands my culture, not just American culture. I think it's really important, and so I think that culture is, or our identity is something that is really important to harness and to respect and to not give away just because we're in a new location. So to my new European friend, I would say there are ways of interlacing your own culture into the fabric of society here, and I would suggest finding little ways of doing that, whether it be encouraging people to try the food of your people, continuing to eat the food of your people, finding restaurants that have food that you're familiar with, and making sure that the people around you understand those places. I think food is the easiest way to help people understand a culture, and it really does translate well. And so I would say the way I interlace all of my intersectionality is by finding components that I really want to embrace within each one of those facets that I represent, and making sure they're a part of my bigger life. And I obviously I have a different position than many people. I'm very public. My platform is very public, and so I use that to remind people that our differences should be celebrated, and there's no shame in those differences. We really should celebrate them.
Of course. Wow. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful answer. I have another question here from Angela Ritchie, who is a marketing student here at SLCC. She asked, Mr. France, I absolutely love how you help people see their own beauty. So can you tell us a little bit about your path to success and what was one of your lowest points and how you overcame it?
Yeah. One correction, lovely young person who addressed me. Mr. France is my father-in-law. I'm just 10. I would like to believe I'm still young at heart. I had some really, really hard times when I first started my businesses. Before I became the 10 France that some of you may know from Netflix, I lived a very normal life. I had businesses that I started here in Utah, and they were the lowest points of my life at times. I had a lot of financial difficulty. I'm Muslim, which means that I practice my religion to a certain extent. One of those components is that we're not allowed to receive or accept interest, which means we can't have credit cards or overdrafts or loans or whatever. And so everything that you own as part of your business or earn as part of your business is all you have. You can't really borrow money from anywhere else. And so that's really hard when you own a business. And so there were a lot of really difficult times where I honestly didn't know if I was going to make it physically as a person or as a business owner. I was so swamped with stress that I thought, I don't know how I'm going to get through this, and I was suffering through the worst depression. And what I decided to do was not be greedy. I realized that I already had success, and that my success wasn't measured by the amount of money that I had. And so I had already done well with my businesses. I decided that I was going to sell them, and just calm down and not add more and more stress to my plate, thinking that I always need to chase the dollar. For me, that was a very American concept, and I wanted to ingratiate myself in American culture. And I'm really glad I took a moment to step back and think, I don't need to earn the most of anyone I know. I can just earn a decent amount and be comfortable and happy. And that decision changed my life. And I was worried about the shame of losing a business or selling a business and people thinking I hadn't succeeded. And I realized it really didn't matter what anyone thought other than my partner and myself. And so that's the thing that was most freeing. There was probably another part of that question that I'm probably forgetting.
No, I think that actually really covered all of it, to be honest. So thank you very much for that. And circling back to what you were talking about when it comes to business, do you have any advice for fashion students who are wanting to start a business, but they don't know really where to start?
Yeah. So much. So I was a fashion major also. And you know what's funny? I'm going to just give you advice that is going to be so annoying because I know that it goes against what almost every fashion student wants. Mm-hmm. Decide what kind of fashion student and then fashion career person you want to be. Everyone I knew in my school wanted to be the next Alexander McQueen or Chanel, whatever. You know how few of those there are. They are the very, very extreme exception. There are many other jobs you can have in fashion where you're not heralded as the greatest designer in the world. You're not the face of the brand, but you get to still do the thing that you love, which is design. And that's what I decided. I just thought, I don't want to risk being 1 in 10 million, because that is probably really unlikely for me. But I do want to achieve comfort in finances. I want to be able to do what I love for a living, but I also want to be able to pay my bills. And so I decided to be a technical designer, which meant I wanted to be the designer who made clothes for, let's say, H&M, Zara, stores that are regular stores, not $10,000 dresses. And And so a technical designer is what I decided to be because I wanted to be able to afford to live a normal life. And my gosh, it was the best decision I ever made. It was a thing that changed the trajectory of my life completely. I was then able to learn how to create a business where I knew how to design a dress that anyone could wear or a skirt that anyone could wear, and how to get it mass produced and how to take it from an size extra small to extra, extra, extra large. I got real world knowledge. And in my opinion, that is the best advice I can give you. If you truly believe you are so exceptional that you can be the Alexander McQueen, who is one in literally millions of people who design, go for it. If you're not so confident, you think, but I'm still a good designer, there are other options for you.
Of course. Well, thank you very much. That's very helpful. I know for anyone to hear that, because sometimes, we might be a little scared to get out of our comfort zone, but really like following and chasing our dreams, I feel like is the one thing that we should focus on.
Yeah.
Back to what you were saying about how you wanted to become someone who is very like open to everyone. You had like a recent launch last year in October for your Was Him collection, right?
Yeah.
So why do you think like gender neutral clothing is so important in the fashion world?
I think it's the direction that fashion is going in. I think that to not include any gender neutral items, or I call them genderless, which is a term we use in the UK. However you want to articulate it here, so be it. But I think there's a huge market out there, and not just financially, but as far as opportunity goes, where people don't want to be stuck in one certain box. They want the freedom to be able to explore their creativity and how they present themselves to the world. I do that too. So for me, it was the most obvious brand plan was to not cater to a certain gender in particular. Who cares? A coat's a coat. Anyone could wear a coat, and I don't care what gender you identify as. If you want to look chic, you want to look chic. And so I will say that outerwear is a category of clothing that lends itself well to genderless options or gender neutral options. Sometimes it's a lot more difficult if you're wanting to create a corset dress. That's probably not going to look as well on a man who isn't able to fill out that corset the way a cis woman would. And so I do think that it's important that we look at gender neutral options because that's the way forward. But I also understand that not everything can be gender neutral, which I know is controversial to say. And I've got a feeling that there are a lot of people who hate when I say that, but it's true.
It is definitely true. And speaking on that, I know that brand is, you mentioned something, I think, in an article where you say coats are like a timeless piece. They last forever, and you want to create something that lasts forever.
Yeah.
So what do you think are some ways, especially for fashion students who are wanting to make a brand, that we can be more eco-friendly and sustainable with clothing and shopping in clothing?
If you're not focused on sustainability as a point of your brand, when you decide to create a brand, you will not succeed. And that's not just me saying it, that's anyone in the fashion business world understands that the way forward is making sure that you are being a little more aware, and you are being a little more conscious about the choices you make when it comes to what you're producing and what you're selling your customer, suggesting to your customer. I'm not talking about the garment itself. I'm talking about the ideal you're selling to your customer. There will always be fast fashion brands, but the way they're regulated going forward will be very different to how they have been up until now because they are damaging the planet. And so if you are wanting to create a successful brand, start to consider what you can create that doesn't necessarily have to be timeless, but can be reworked in years to come, months to come, years to come, where we're not just buying something for 3 months, throwing it away and starting afresh. A trend is great, but it needs something more than that. If you are creating a brand that is trend driven, maybe look at how you're sourcing your fabrics. Are you sustainably sourcing your fabrics? I really start to think of the end outcome of that product that you're producing. If you don't, you will not succeed in fashion today.
Of course, and I definitely agree with that. We have a question here from Mos J. Sakaki. She's a faculty member of the Fashion Institute. She asks, what do you think fashion schools should teach students to be successful post-pandemic that had a huge impact in the fashion industry?
Quite honestly, it leads me back to the last question. is sustainability. I think that within the last couple of years in particular, we've hit on sustainability more than ever before. I think we understand the importance for it more than ever before, but also leaning into clothes that are actually wearable. I think that if the pandemic taught us anything, it's that people are leaning into comfort more than ever before. The pandemic isn't going away anytime soon. This virus isn't going away anytime soon. So at least for the next few years, probably explore comfort, stretch fabrics, something that is wearable for the audience, because it's only the upper echelon of society, the multimillionaires, the multi-billionaires, who are paying the tens of thousands for a garment they will wear once, that is wildly uncomfortable, that they will wear to the Met Gala. Other than that, people aren't living in super uncomfortable clothes. I think for the first time in our lifetime, we've learned the importance of comfort over style.
Of course, of course. Thank you very much. And coming back to kind of what you were talking about with your brand and kind of putting yourself in there, do you think you design for inclusivity and accessibility, or do you think more about expressing your creativity and designing something more unique?
I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think that you can have both. I wanted to create something that felt unique. I wanted to create something that felt like it wasn't really available on the market for the price point that it is. Accessibility is really important to me, and I'll be very frank. When we launched the brand price point was considerably higher. And I thought, well, that seems like a reasonable price point considering the quality of the product, the amount of work that goes into the product. And I had so many DMs. I get around about 500 to 800 DMs a day. I don't look at them myself. My assistants look through them, and they will give me like a roundup every day of, just in case something's gone on that I haven't realized. If there's something in the press about me, if there's audience has seen something that I wasn't aware of, they'll give me the roundup. And after launch, the roundup every day was how upset people were that they felt left out of my brand because the price point was so much higher than they could afford. I want to explain why it was that price point. For a nice coat, a lovely coat with things like embroidery on it, it's not a Zara price point. The Zara price point is like $200-ish for a nice coat. To have that quality of coat is usually a designer brand, and that usually costs around about $1,000 for that coat. And so we were charging around about $450. I was like, that's fair compared to what other people are paying. However, I didn't consider my audience enough. My audience needs something a little more accessible. They don't want to feel left out of the game. They want to feel like they're really stylish and can be really stylish and chic without having to spend a month's play money on a piece of outerwear. And so we changed things up. We lowered the price for our second drop, which launched a couple of weeks ago. I made it really clear to the company who's my partner that we cannot continue to charge that price. I want people to really feel like they can enjoy fashion also, which is why I made that change. So accessibility is really, really important to me, but that doesn't mean it needs to be perfect for the masses. I want people to still feel like I'm one of only a few people who has this coat, and that is exciting to me.
Yeah, thank you so much, of course. And really tying back to what you were saying is making feel everyone like they're accessible to that kind of thing. I know a lot of college students, they like live on a tight budget. Do you have any advice for someone who wants like a better style but doesn't have a lot of money?
Yeah. I will say my brand is probably not for the college price point, and I was always aware of that. My brand is definitely for the what we call the young professional. But for anyone who is at college, believe me, I was broke as a joke at college. So I was so broke at college. But I know my outfits were fierce. And so the way I did that was I practically lived, we don't have this, but I'm going to use the equivalent of like a vintage store or Goodwill. So Goodwill's what we don't have in the UK. But I still love, actually we're in Utah, duh, you guys are in Utah. Deseret Industries. Oh wait, is it called Deseret Industries? DI, yeah. DI. You do not need to go to a mall when you are on a budget and you're in college. I think go to the DI, go to Decades, which is on State Street. Like with just those two things, you can have such great style at a much lower price point than you will ever get at the mall. And in my opinion, it's so much better. Even if I had had the money to shop at H&M or Zara when I was a kid, I didn't want it. I wanted to look like no one else. And I knew that everyone at my college was shopping at H&M or Zara. And the reason I mention them a lot is they were the only big stores we had in my small town. Actually that's the case here too. We've got like J. Crew and stuff, but that's not for a college price point. And so I would always think, I don't want to look like 10 other people in my college. I don't want them to have the same thing as me. I want to be the only one who has that thing. And so I would practically live at a vintage store or a thrift store, and I would spend so much time in there. And then not only would I buy that thing, I would then alter that thing. I would cut a sleeve off. I would cut the sleeves off. I would spray paint something on it. I would sew something onto it. I would make it look like this person cares about how they present themselves to the world.
Exactly. That's amazing advice. Thank you so much.
Wait, one more thing. I will say, you will see me plenty of times. Actually, there's something coming out today where you will see me in a $10 shirt. And I'm doing something for the most luxury designer brand, a video that's coming out later today. And I can't say what it is yet because I'm not allowed. But later today, this video is coming out and I'm wearing a white shirt under my suit. And that white shirt cost me $10. I didn't have time to get something. And I was passing a Walmart and I was like, stop. The car, I need to grab something real quick on my way to the airport. The only thing I could find was a white shirt for $10. It's like, okay, I need it. I'm gonna have to get that. And I wore it in a campaign video for a major designer. Believe me, you can find great options everywhere if you look hard enough.
Yes, of course. I definitely agree with that. So tying back along with like your own self when it comes to expressing yourself, do you have any fears when it comes to interacting with new people in society when you are traveling, for example?
Wait, based on the pandemic or just in general?
In general, just in general.
This is going to sound ridiculous, but remember, I've done this for a hot minute now. So I've been in Hollywood for 4 years now, actually 5, but the show's been out for 4 years. And so I've really gotten comfortable with just talking to anyone. At first, that wasn't the case. I was really nervous. The show Queer Eye and actually Next in Fashion, they became pretty big pretty quick. And so it's not often when I'm out of the house, people don't talk to me. People usually come up and say hello. And so you get real good real quick at having a conversation with somebody you've never met before and probably never see again. The way I do it is I always ask questions about them. I always will ask a really simple question, something like, are you from here? And then they'll go into a whole, no, I'm not from here, blah, 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 blah. Then it leads into something else. I think we've lost so much in society. One of those things is the art of communication and really getting to know somebody, because we do so much of it online or through social media. It feels really nice to just have a normal conversation with a person and find out who they are. And I think it's the greatest sign of respect to ask somebody about their life.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that. And I know I have a question here from Shanna Stevens. She asks something about when the LGBTQ plus community, if you have any advice for a transgender at-risk youth.
You know, they are wildly disrespected across our country and across our globe. And I wish I had a nugget of advice that would help. All I will say is, until we get to the point in this world where we are treating everyone with the love and the respect that they deserve, we have to, unfortunately, consider the spaces we are in. And I'm one of those people too. I'm queer, I'm Muslim, I'm obviously brown. The amount of trouble I could get myself in if I wasn't more careful. And I hate that the onus is on those marginalized groups. But what I would say is we have to, unfortunately, until life is safer for us all, be aware of the situations we're putting ourselves in. And so if you have friends and family who you love so much, when you are out and you know that it might be an issue, try and be with somebody else who can help offer you the support that you need. I know that's not the answer any of us want. I wish I could say, yeah, there's no such thing as this right now. We live in a scary place. And I'm not talking about Utah, I'm talking about the world in general.
Yeah, no, and of course. And tying back to that, I have a student here from hospitality management, Sienna Johnson. She asks, in Queer Eye, you're working in some places with reputation for not being accepting towards people of all identities. So what has your experience been with people changing or not changing their beliefs about the LGBTQ plus community while working with them? And also, will there be a Queer Eye Salt Lake City?
Okay, let me answer that question first. I have been pushing for a Queer Eye Salt Lake for 5 seasons now. The answer is I don't know. I still hope one day there will be. And me and Anthony in particular push for that so hard. Fingers crossed one day there will be. And then when it comes to opening up to people who might be a little more closed-minded, this actually ties in with the last question from our trans person who would ask the question about safety. I will say that I feel much safer when I open up to people and say, this is my life experience, this is my lived experience, tell me yours. That's the only way a person has a chance to see my humanity, our humanity. I think if we don't allow them to ask questions respectfully, if we don't give information, those people are never going to understand us. I can't expect that somebody who's never met somebody like me would just be like, oh my God, I love you. We should definitely invite you over for dinner. No, you don't understand me. And the world has told you that I'm scary. The news has told you I'm scary. I want to show you I'm not at all. And so that's, I think, the beauty of what we do on Queer Eye. We don't actually do much. We really don't. But yeah, I do my job. I put something in clothes. Yeah, Jonathan does somebody's hair, blah, 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 blah. However, all we're doing is sharing our humanity with somebody. That's the job. And so it's very rare we've had some really difficult people on our show who had never met queer people, brown people, whatever. By the end of those episodes, like, we just can't believe we went through our whole lives thinking that we should be scared of you or hate you. You're just a person like the rest of us. Allow people to see your humanity.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And thank you, 10 Friends in general. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today about fashion and just life in general. I'm sure that you helped a lot of people with whatever you had to say. And thank you so much for your support for Salt Lake City Community College Giving Day and Students in Crisis Fund. Also want to thank everyone who participated today for your donations to the Students in Crisis Fund for Giving Day. We invite you to continue to spread the word today about Giving Day using the hashtag SLCC Giving Day. Please invite your friends and families and associates to give. And you can go to slcc.edu/Giving Day to see all the ways you can give. Every gift counts. So thank you so much again, 10 Friends, for being here with us and really supporting us.
Thank you so much. Lovely to meet you. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Stay safe.